Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show I'm, Laura, and this week on the show I'm chatting to the lovely Leann Wolff. She is a human design professional and a business and career consultant, and we're going to be talking all things human design and how human design and understanding your own human design can help you in your business. Let's dive in. So hi Leann, I am so happy to have you on the Wholehearted Business Show. Do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, Laura, I am a human design professional. I use this I teach people it. I use it in my coaching. It found me about 11 years ago. I was actually in corporate Canada. I was a bank manager, and I actually was there for 10 years. I remember sitting there with all the managers, and this sensation went over me, and I'm like, I'm not going to be here for this new computer system. I knew that my time there was just to, phase out the old one, get everybody prepared for the new one, and I was going to take an exit. So that was actually back in 2011 that I did that. And I allowed myself about a year to, let's say, decompress from corporate. And I sat down at the computer and I just typed in new age business, and human design came up. So it was such an interesting way how it met me, and I was ready for it. I jumped in. I did like all the studies at the International Human Design School and the BG5 Business Institute. And yeah, I love it. It's got a hold of me, Laura. I tried a few times to let it go, but it doesn't want to let it's right there. So yeah, I use it as a tool to really help people recenter.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love for anyone who's not familiar with human design, would you be able to give us like a brief kind of introduction to what human design is?
Sure. So design it's kind of interesting because it brings in a lot of ancient esoterics. So the I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah tree of life, and the Hindu chakra system, and it marries it with today's like quantum physics, biomechanics. So it's a very deep scientific study, but at the core of it, what it is designed to do is to help us be more self-aware. And how we do that is by making decisions from our core centered, inner guidance, GPS, whatever you want to call it, so that when we're interacting with the world, we don't get pulled off center. We can start to discern better who we're going to interact with instead of, for example, in your chart, I see that there could be a people pleasing tendency that goes on. Okay. So instead of people pleasing and making decisions so that you're not hurting anybody's feelings, you're actually coming from a place of response and centeredness so that you don't get pulled into their emotional drama.
Yeah.
Those that require your wisdom around emotional intelligence, you'll respond to that and you'll engage with that correctly. But it's not from a place of quote unquote people pleasing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense,
Yes.
Laura?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm right in thinking it's based on you look at your date and time of birth and place of birth. And
Yes.
you get a chart, and I'll make sure that we've got links where people can go and get their chart on your site
Sure.
and things like that if they want to explore their
Yeah.
chart. And
Yeah.
then am I right in thinking that there's different types? Is it 5 different kind of main types in human design? Am I right in thinking that?
So there's actually 4.
4, sorry, I thought it
There's a
was 5.
couple branches of
Mm-hmm.
teachers that have, moved away from Ra's original material,
Mm-hmm.
and they say 5. I still stick with the original material of Ra Uru, and he talks about 4 types. And really, what that does is it allows for you to understand how your aura works, but
Mm-hmm.
also how you're designed to engage in the
Yeah.
world. So I can just briefly go over them just so that
Yeah.
your listeners kind of have an idea when they go and they grab their webs or their chart. So the first type that I always talk about is the manifester,
Yeah.
which they are here to initiate. What they're really designed for, if you imagine it like Moses, how Moses got the 10 Commandments, then he went out and split the seas, and the Exodus could take place. That's what manifestors are. They're these like original creators. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of get some originality, and then they come and they build containers for that original innovation to start to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So for them, they actually have, we call it a closed and repelling aura. It's not that they are repelling, but what they are designed to do is repel resistance, right? Just like
Yeah.
Moses pushed the water, that's exactly what a manifestor is designed to do, is, move the resistance out of the way so that this new innovation can be landed here for
Yeah.
us. And then we have our projectors, and our projectors are designed to be advisors. They are here to supervise. They are here to guide. And who they're guiding, they're actually designed to guide the generators and the manifesting
Mm-hmm.
generators, because that is the largest sector of humans here. And what a generator like yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a manifesting generator, we're designed to use our creative energy and actually be kind of like boots on the ground. We are the workers, but we're not here to work. As soon as I say that, a lot of people get angry. We're not here to work in frustration. Frustration always causes burnout. We're here to work in our creative muse through
Mm-hmm.
response. And the beautiful part when we have a projector, asking us those questions to really guide us on which part we want to create, now all of a sudden we're building and creating through response. And now that container for that manifestor can get created. The projectors are guiding that manifesting generator and generator energy to do that. And then we have the fourth type. They are called reflectors. And reflectors are, one of my friends, she always says they're like the disco ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in the middle and they're kind of just reflecting back. What is going on? Is everybody actually enjoying what they're doing? Are they responding? Are they invited into it? Are they being creative? So the reflector is more of an evaluation process. They get to come in and evaluate and just, notice what's going on. Does
Yeah.
that make
Yeah.
sense? Four types?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really interesting. And obviously, I can already see why this is relevant and important when it
Yeah.
comes to running your own business and working with clients and, and building something like we're all doing here with health and life coaching businesses. But do you want to expand a
Yeah.
little bit more on why having an understanding of human design can be really helpful when it comes to growing a business?
Yes. So when I look at a chart, for example, Laura, I'm looking at your chart here on the screen, and I see that you have four open centers. So in the human design body graph, there's going to be 9 centers that you're going to see. Some of them are colored in, some of them are open. If you're a reflector, they're all open, and we can get into that at a different time. That's important. But where I go to is I always go to that open area because that's where we're designed to have experiences. However, through those experiences, we can get conditioned, right? That's where all of a sudden those limiting beliefs start to come in, all those negative thoughts happen because we're comparing ourselves and trying to be somebody else.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I go to those spaces because that's actually where the profitability of a business owner actually is, because it's experiential.
Yeah.
That's where you've come in, you've learned all kinds of information. So for you, I look at that G center, the diamond in the middle,
Mhm.
okay? And I go, oh, yeah, yeah, you're here really helping people step into their own self-led leadership, right? Into
Yeah.
their own direction. And by doing that, that 46 that you have hanging off of that G center, it's all about the body. It's all about the body. So loving the body, understanding the body, and then
Yeah.
self-leading oneself into a different future by loving that body.
Yeah.
So that's your profitability. But you had to learn that,
Yes.
right? You
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
learn. How far did you get off your direction before you came back and went, you know what? I do love this vessel. I love this body. I love this so much. And
Yeah.
now you can lead other people to back to that love of that vessel.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's fascinating. So yeah, it you can obviously see there just in that example, and like you see, Leanne's got my chart there. Is there in terms of where people start to lose themselves
Mm-hmm.
in business, can human design be a good tool that kind of helps people find the way back to themselves. I think there's something about, and like I said, I mean, I'm aware of human design, but very, very basic, like literally just those types. And I know that I'm a generator, and that is pretty much about it. But I feel like there's something about human design that is about help and guide us back to ourselves. And
Mhm.
obviously that by extension in our businesses as well. Is there
Yeah.
particular parts of our chart that we should be looking at when we're considering that? What are your thoughts on that side of things?
So when we're looking at it through that lens, that's where I take people to their strengths, right? You're here to show people how to thrive in a new way, right? By bumping into challenges, but not letting those challenges pull them off their game, and creating like a structure for them to move into so that they can actually go back to that love of body. And you do it in a very innovative, it's called freak to genius kind of way, right? People are like, what's she doing? But once they can harness that individual aspect that you have of showing people how to do this, they're bought in. So of course, the chart it's a holistic chart. So when I work with clients, it's the whole thing. We got to look at the whole thing. But as for business, once you can settle into what you're really good at, what you love to do, what your strengths are, now what you can do is then you can hire out any skills that you need in your business. You can create offers because all that openness tells us exactly what you're here to offer your people. And then again, how are you going to teach them? You lean back into what is defined in your chart, and we lean into that so that you know how you're representing yourself, all those strengths that you have. And now you can sell those offers all day long because you're not trying to be something that you're not. You're actually standing in the truth of who you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I know,
Yeah.
like I say, again, based on my very small experience of human design, is it that one of my key kind of indicators of not being on my path is frustration?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would love to find out a bit more about that and how people can understand that aspect. I mean, again, just to reiterate, people's first step of the interest in exploring this should be to go and download the chart and have a look at it. But
Yeah.
knowing from my own experience, looking at the chart is a bit like, oh, there's lots of numbers and colours
Yeah.
and patterns and shapes and things that I have no idea around. But yeah, on the side of that kind of sign of not living your purpose, I suppose, like how does that kind of come into it as well?
Yeah. So what those are called actually signposts. So
Yeah.
for a generator or a manifesting generator, if we're not responding, if we're not people haven't requested our energy and we go out and we work and then nobody buys something and we're like, "What? I just put in all that work and nobody," we become frustrated,
Yeah.
right? So then what does frustration do? It makes us work in that frustration a little more and then a little more. And then all of a sudden, like we're days into our frustrated energy movement and nobody's asked us for anything, right? So that's where that frustration and then the satisfaction comes. When people request our energy, our uniqueness, and we respond and we use that energy, it's so satisfying, right? It's so
Yeah.
satisfying. So for the other types, so our projectors, they're here to, guide, but what's really important is their energy field is very probing because they're designed to probe into that generator or manifesting generator and really get to know us. Like, and if they're not waiting for the invitation and they're just giving unsolicited advice all the time, and people are like, not listening to it at all, they can fall into bitterness because they're like, I can see how I can help you. But they'll fall into bitterness. The moment that they, pull back, wait for that invitation, they're here to notice things. And once they do that, now all of a sudden, instead of bitterness, they're operating from success
Yeah.
because they can see, oh, my advice actually helps someone. Then we have our manifestors. They are designed to operate in peace, and they will do that the moment that they use their strategy of inform. So as they inform about these new containers, right, that they're building, then there's peace there, because now everybody can decide whether or not they're going to walk towards this container and help it be created. When they are not informing and they're tight-lipped and they're moving around Earth, they feel very angry. There's this sense of anger inside of them. Okay. And then we have our reflectors. Their whole thing is to really allow for a lunar cycle when they're making decisions. Now, they don't have to wait the full 28 and a half, 29 days. What they need to do is understand how that moon actually moves around inside of them, because it's going to be the exact same thing 13 times a year. It's going to be like a dial that dials them into the correct decision. But if they're jumping in and being really spontaneous and not waiting for that clarity to happen within them, they will feel very disappointed, because what they are evaluating, people just they're not gathering it, right?
Yeah.
So when they do wait for that, then there's a lot of awe and surprise and like, wow, I did help out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the example that you gave for generators and manifesting generators about
Yeah.
that waiting to, was it waiting to respond?
Yes.
Is it that kind of thing? I
Yeah.
mean, what would an example of that look like in business? Would it be, what it makes me think of is kind of, is the not like creating the course and spending like 20 hours creating the course and then trying to sell it. It's like,
Right.
here, I've got this idea for something. Would you be interested in it? Am I along the right lines?
Exactly. So what we have a tendency to do, while all of humans on Earth mostly have a tendency to do, is to like use our little human mind to think things and think that we are smarter than like our own internal GPS, or our connection with source. So then we think, oh, that would be a great idea. I've had so many ideas. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And then we get really frustrated because we're expending all this energy and nobody actually wants it. Nobody
Yeah.
desires it,
Yeah.
right? So the minute that we pull back and we're like, hey, I'm, a human design professional. Now all of a sudden people go, oh, I need those services, because we're showing them the desires that they want to get to. We're talking about their pain points that they're sitting in. And we have a map that can show them from point A to point B. And now people go, oh, I want that. I really, really, really want to change my habits. I want to lose the weight. I want to be more connected. I want to make more aligned decisions. And now they request it from us. So then they reach out to us and we get to respond. Like, for example, I don't take every client, because I'm like, you got to be committed,
Yeah.
right? You have to be willing to move into the best version of yourself, and it might not take 30 days to do that. It might
Yeah.
take 6 months, 12
Yeah.
months to do that.
Yeah. And in terms of kind of where people might want to get started with this, I mean, like I said, I've mentioned a few times to download their chart, but is there anything as a coach and a business owner that is a good place to start and explore, I suppose, like where this can help guide them? Because like you say, it isn't, obviously we're talking about business because that's what this show is about, and we're helping
Yes.
people start their coaching businesses, but it's a lot more
Yes.
holistic than that, isn't it? In terms
Yeah.
of the business side of it, is the
Yeah.
parts of the chart that are particularly relevant? I know it's touched on some of them, but what would people be looking out for in their charts that might help them around their businesses other than what we've already touched on?
So I have a massive library on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
Massive library. I think there's like 500 and some odd
Oh,
videos there.
amazing. We will link to that. We will link to that, definitely.
So I do touch on the business aspect in there, right? Of course, like I'm available for them as well
Yes.
if they want to learn more about this or integrate it into their businesses. Most of my time I spend teaching other people how to use human design, because I've been in it for the last 12 years, 11 years, whatever it is. I understand this process really deeply. It's an intricate science,
Hmm.
so it's about allowing yourself first to be in the experiment and play around with your own decision making. See how all of a sudden, we call it deconditioning, okay? Where which is kind of very similar to mindset, right? All of a sudden you
Yes.
notice those thought patterns, right? You notice how you're comparing yourself, or for example, in your chart, You probably noticed when and who you were people pleasing around. You probably began to notice how you were trying to prove yourself and how it wasn't valuable to you. You probably noticed that you were going down like pathways that weren't for you, right? And
Yeah.
you probably noticed how distraction is probably one of your largest money suckers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
just say that, right?
Yeah.
So, because of all of that, you've learned that through experience, through all
Mm-hmm.
of that openness. Now, again, it's to understand and then tap back into for you, your decision making is around sacral response. Tapping in and going, what is correct for me? Who is requesting my energy? And how my sacral operates, it actually moves my body. I will lean in or I'll pull out
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
off of what's going on the outside, right? But I don't change who I am internally. I just allow that movement to happen because then I know.
Yeah.
So I would say to your people, tap into your own decision making and your own experiment. Play with that first
Yeah.
before you lean in and start to use this for your clients. Again, the human design body graph also correlates with biology inside the body. So you would be able to, like, it's such a beautiful map for numerous things,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, they can go to the YouTube, my YouTube channel, and explore there. There's so much information.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, after they pull their chart, and they can play there for sure.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think there's something that I've noticed certainly about human design and astrology and things that are obviously linked to it as well is the don't know if comfort's the right word, but there's something about seeing yourself, the reality of who you are reflected back in something. There's something just very comforting is the word that comes back to me, or affirming, perhaps,
Yes.
to just
Yep.
kind of see some of those things reflected back. And I think there's that anything that helps you understand yourself better, even just individually, is always going to have those knock-on positive impacts on your business, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. 100%. And like I see it like a permission slip,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When I saw it when, whatever, 12 years ago when it found me, I was like, oh, I felt like I was at home. I'm like,
yes,
oh,
yeah,
okay, because I made decisions. Like, I could see where my strengths were. For example, I have the 2145. It's all about management. Like right from being a young child, I was always put in charge of, okay, well, you're going to manage this, you're going to manage that. And I'm like, oh my
yeah,
goodness, right? But that's energetically, that's what people recognized.
yeah,
So it's very, very interesting to watch the mechanical piece of this operate, even in the depths of the most, we can be really negative, all those kind of things, and those mechanics are still like forefront and center. They're trying their best to really guide us.
yeah. And that, I suppose that's the thing. Remember, isn't it? It's that internal guidance system that is helping guide us towards our highest good, our highest
Yeah.
self. Yeah,
And like it's like this navigation. So the creator of human design, he was kind of a little bit crude at times, but he's like, it's like getting lubricated up and moving through this 3D plane. Are there going to be times where stuff bumps into you? Are there going to be times where it's challenging? Yes. But mostly you can navigate and glide through because you're not getting caught up in hmm, the shoulda, woulda, couldas of the
yeah,
tiny little human mind that tells
yeah,
you, oh, you should do this, you could do this. If you would do this, then this could happen. Well, that keeps us in those spaces of frustration and bitterness and anger and disappointment because we're using our energy incorrectly. So the other aspect of this, just as I say that, it's not about time management, it's about
mhm,
energy management. And once we flip that and recognize that we are energetic beings, then we get to make decisions on who and how we are going to expend that energy.
yeah,
And it's so beautiful because then burnout doesn't become, and right now I know it's massive in the online space.
yeah,
Burnout has become something that is just so crazy, and that's because that mind is trying to like force us to do things, to try to be somebody, try to
yeah,
hurry, try to do all those things. And when we just manage that energy, the burnout isn't going to seep in because it doesn't need to, because you're managing your energy correctly.
Yeah, and that's a massive thing when it comes to, I mean, obviously when it comes to business,
Yes.
it is a huge factor. And I think there's a lot of, for a lot of business owners, I think there's a lot of looking over your shoulder and a lot of the, should I do
Yes.
this? What would happen if I did this? There's so much of that. And there's so much of thinking that because someone else is doing something, then that's the right way to do it. And what I love about tools like human design is that they do again reconnect us with ourselves and stop us from getting caught in that place. Well, because that person's launched that course, or because this person is doing this for marketing, or because this person's doing this, it kind of helps to remove all of that.
Yes. It totally does. Because you're deciding authentically for you and your life circumstance and your life cycle. A lot of what we see online is a lot of psychological torture,
Yeah,
right? That's what
yeah,
what marketing really truly is. It's a
yeah,
psychological game.
yeah,
And when you know design, you're not playing in that psychological space anymore. You're actually playing from the center of your guidance.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
because this is it. There's a like there's certainly a lot, and you know, definitely in the online coaching space as well. There is like manipulation, and it is, yeah,
huge.
it's really problematic.
Huge. And right now, with the advent of AI, there's a lot of like hurry up, like people feel like they're going to miss out, that things are speeding by so fast. And I constantly, in my email list, I'm always sending out emails and talking with my clients and letting them know like there is a space and time for artificial intelligence. It will never take over your capacity to be empathetic, compassionate, and kind with another human being. It just will never, ever, ever do that.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing all of your
Thank you, Laura.
wisdom and from those little insights into my chart as well.
Yes,
It's really
of course.
interesting and definitely resonates a lot. So, if any of the listeners want to kind of learn more about human design from you, I've already talked
Hmm.
about YouTube channel. Where
Yes.
should we, I mean, we'll put links as well in the description, but what steps should they start to take?
So on my website, powerofself.ca, they can pop in there. There's a few ways to get into my containers.
Yeah,
I do have anywhere from low ticket to high ticket. So it all depends on their decision making and where they want to lean in. I have a mentorship that is a monthly mentorship where they can come in and hang out with human design professionals and learn the material and put their charts in, put their clientele's charts in so that we can kind of all riff and then everybody learns something different because we all see the charts through our own perspective.
yeah,
So, that's a low ticket way of getting into the energy field of myself and my mentor coaches and just testing the waters and looking
yeah.
at it through the lens of business.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, thank you so
Awesome.
much. And like I say, I'll put all the links where everyone can find you. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys finding out about their human design. And if you're listening or if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below. Let us know what your human design is. It type? Am I using the right language there?
Yes.
Manifest.
Yes.
Yeah, let us know what your type is. That'd be really interesting as a starting point.
Yes.
And
Love.
yeah, thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.